morning. It is November, I'm looking at my thing, November 13th, um, 2022. My name is Douglas Griffin. This is my Sunday school class. So welcome. Um, we're in the book of Exodus. I've been going through the Bible verse by verse. I think it's easier to understand that way. It's easier than being perfect, but to not come up with your own interpretation if you are forced to read the Bible consecutively. So we're in Exodus chapter 16 today. Let's see, click that. Nope, that's not it. Ooh, I have a deep voice today. Okay. Oh, it's right in front of me. Bless my heart. In Exodus chapter 16, the children of Israel have finally been freed from Egypt. I just want to keep emphasizing this was self-inflicted bondage. God told Abraham, I'm giving you the land of Canaan. I'm giving it to you and your descendants. He told Isaac, I'm giving you the land of Canaan. I'm giving it to you and your descendants. This is what I'm giving you. This is for you. Told Jacob, I'm giving you the land of Canaan. This is you. I'll make you a great nation here. They went to Egypt for 5 years during a famine. Once the famine was over, they should have said, let's go back to what God has given us. But instead, they thought, Joseph, he's a king in Egypt. We should stay here. So they stayed. When Jacob died, they took him back to Canaan. And they said, now that we're back here, we should stay. No, they said, let's go back to Egypt. Those were Jacob's sons. They knew. They knew that God had given them, but they just didn't trust God. So they went back to Egypt, and they were there for a couple hundred years in bondage. Unfortunately, while they're there, they're learning Egypt ways. They have no contact with God, really. God is watching them. God's trying to talk to them, but they've become Egyptians. So once they've been extracted from Egypt, God has to retrain their thinking, teach them how to obey God. So he takes them out. They cross the Red Sea. They've got all their livestock and their kids, and they go for 3 days, and God leads them to a place called Marah, which they called Marah because it had bitter water. There's a tree next to it that God was intending all along to make the bitter water sweet. They put the tree in the water, turned sweet. So God wasn't confused. God wasn't scrambling for resources. Oh man, what do? I didn't know they were at Marah. He actually led them there so that he could show them, look, even if you run into bitter water, I can turn it sweet. So they're supposed to go, oh, you don't have to worry about God. Then he led them next to a place called Elim, which was beautiful with palm trees and wells everywhere. And they could have said, oh, sometimes God leads us to the bitter water, but it turns it sweet. Sometimes God leads us to, so God's got this. That was the lesson that God was teaching. Then God always tests us to see are we going to learn the lesson or not. So he gives us all the information we need, like a teacher. I'm going to teach you everything about George Washington. And now I'm going to give you the test to see, do you know? Did you listen to what I was saying? So it says they journeyed in verse 1 from Elim. Now they're going to go to the next test. God has just totally blessed them. So they're going to go to the next test because just God does this like a teacher. He's teaching. He has to retrain them. They've learned Egypt ways. He's got to get the Egyptian out of them before he can take them to the promised land. It says, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came to the wilderness of Zin. So they're there. It's kind of a desert area. What are they supposed to do? They're supposed to think, okay, we were in Egypt and God turned water to blood and he brought locusts and he made it dark. He's an incredibly powerful God. He parted the Red Sea. He made the bitter water sweet. So just because we're in this desert doesn't mean God has forgotten how to do stuff. And we reach deserts in our lives and we're not supposed to think God's forgotten how to fix things. You're supposed to go, okay, Lord, show me your salvation. You're going to do something. You're going to do something. So I'm going to wait for, that's the test, right? Every time in the Bible, you'll see God does some great thing, fills them with information that they're supposed to learn from. They're not just supposed to enjoy the test. That's what Jesus got frustrated people who wanted a sign. He says, you just want a sign, you want the miracle, but you don't want the lesson behind the miracle. And so, and that's important. That's a different way of thinking. God's doing the miracle to teach us the lesson, not doing the miracle because he wants to show off. So when some great thing happens, we're supposed to go, oh, look what God does. Isn't he amazing? See how God provides. Okay. Then comes the test. So they take him to the wilderness of Zin, which is between Elim and Sinai. It's the 15th day of the second month. So they left on the 15th day of the first month. That's when Passover is, on the 15th day. So they've been 30 days now. God's been providing their needs. By the way, in Numbers chapter 33, verse 10, in Numbers, they give a more detailed account. It says they moved from Elim and they camped by the Red Sea. So before they went to the wilderness, they went from Elim to the Red Sea, and God's taking them by the Red Sea, and there's a reason, and the wilderness is next to them, but he's taking them by the Red Sea, and you'll see why. And it says, and then they moved from the Red Sea and camped in the wilderness of Zin. So he took them near the Red Sea, and now they're heading toward the wilderness of Zin. Exodus chapter 16, verse 2 says, then the whole congregation, hey, Rodney, so then the whole congregation, the children of Israel, complained against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. So that's a fail. That's a fail. That's not an A on that test. That's a fail because they were supposed to say, God is with us. He led us here. He's going to come up with something. So they failed. Numbers chapter 11, verse 5. Oh, so now, here's why. Here's what they're complaining about. In Numbers chapter 11, verse 5, which again, the book of Numbers gives a really complete, detailed journey. It says, we remember the fish which we ate freely in Egypt, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. So when they were in Egypt, they not only were able to eat from their own livestock, and they had the choice of cattle, beef, lamb, right? Fish. Anytime they wanted, they could go get some fish, come back, and they had all these vegetables. Now, while they're in the wilderness, all they've got is this lamb and this beef. They don't have no fish, so they're complaining. They're not complaining because they're starving and there's no food. They're complaining about specifically what kind of diet. Because they have livestock with them. Okay. But they don't have vegetables, they don't have fish, so they're complaining. Verse 3, and the children of Israel said to them, oh, that we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt when we sat by those pots of meat. So we had fish, we had lamb, we had our choice. And again, I'm just reminding you that they've got all that. And in Exodus chapter 17, we get to the next chapter, Exodus chapter 17, verse 3, it says, and the people thirsted for water. So this is the next incident. And the people complained against Moses and said, why is it you brought us out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst? So it was really the type of meat that they were complaining about. We didn't have any fish. And so, wow. And no vegetables. So they're not really starving. They've got their livestock. They have their livestock. Okay. So, and here's the biggest complaint in Exodus chapter 16, verse 3. It says, and when we ate bread to the full, this is what triggers God. Yeah. We ate bread we were full of bread. And God is thinking, oh, you're about to be full of bread. And honestly, this is what we were stuffed with bread and we were just so full of bread. Where's the bread? So again, they've got food. They just didn't have the same diet they had before. And so there's two things in this verse. We ate bread to the full, and for you have brought us into the wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. So they're accusing God of, we're complaining because we're not full of bread, and you brought us here to kill us. So God's going to correct these two things. There are sometimes Jesus would ignore what somebody would say and not answer their question because you think this person's never going to listen. But with the children of Israel, he has to correct certain things because their children are listening. And God knows it's the children that are ultimately going to cross over into the promised land. These people are never going to really learn the lesson. So, but I've got to correct them. So I've got to correct why I brought them, not to kill them, and correct, oh, you want bread to the full. Okay, cool. Let's see what happens. Exodus chapter 16, verse 4. Then the Lord said to Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you. Now, they complained about the fish, the vegetable, right? But it was the bread to the full that made him upset. So I'm going to rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain quota every day. So I was going to lead you, and every day was going to be a new adventure, and someday you're going to have this, and some days you're going to have that, and some, because that's how God wanted to do. God's plan, I mean, God doesn't want to give us the very same thing every single day. He wants us to wake up every morning and see what our new adventure with God's going to be. Where are you going to lead me today? What, but okay, I'm going to give you the same quota then. If it's the bread problem, you're going to get a quota of bread every day and you're going to be full of bread. It's not even a problem. And he says, the people should go out and gather a certain quota every day that I may test them, whether they will walk in my law or not. So I'm doing this for the test to see if you're going to obey me or not, because that's my ultimate goal. Is every morning you wake up and I say, go here, go march in Jericho, go do this, go do that, and you'll do it. So God's purpose now is the bread is more important. I mean, the obedience to God is more important than the bread. I'm doing it that may test them whether they walk in my law or not. So are you going to listen to me? Are you going to listen to my word? Follow my rules? In Matthew chapter 4, Satan comes to Jesus while he's in the same wilderness. By the way, he's in the same wilderness. In Matthew chapter 4, verse 1, it says, then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil, to be tested by the devil. Holy Spirit, just like God is leading the children of Israel into the wilderness so that they can pass the test. Again, the goal is to pass the test. If the teacher is spending all this time going over George Washington was the first president and he did this and that, he wants you to pass it. He's hoping you're listening. The goal is to get the A. But he needs to show you, if you're not listening, here's what you've learned. Nothing. And the test is really for us. The test is not for God. The test is not for the teacher. Teacher's looking right at your face. He sees that you're not listening. So I'm going to give you this test and show you you're not listening. You're not going to pass this class. I'm looking at the student who's bright, looking at all the asking questions. You're attentive. You get to pass and move on to the next phase. But to you who's failing the test, you're going to have to just keep taking the class over and over and over for 40 years until you finally pass it. I can't let you move on to the next phase until you learn the lessons. And that's how God is. I need you to learn these lessons. Why is the same thing happening over and over? Because you haven't learned. So, Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. Jesus is going to get an A. So when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, afterward, obviously, he would be hungry, it says, verse 3. And now when the tempter came to him, he said, if you're the Son of God, command these stones to become bread. But he answered, it is written. Now, again, so God didn't tell Jesus to do that. The devil's telling him to do that. So it's like, I'm not going to do what you say, devil. If only these should be T-shirts made. Because the devil's come to us and tells us all sorts of stuff. You should do this. I would slap that person. And we have a choice. Am I going to listen to what the devil says or listen to what God said? So if the devil says, well, you should turn those stones into bread, it's like, no. The test is, so Jesus explains the test. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. I'm not going to let my hunger dictate what I do. I'm going to let God dictate what I do. Just because I'm hungry doesn't mean I have to do that. Just because I'm angry doesn't mean I have to do that. Just because I'm tickled doesn't have to do whatever the emotion is. I'm not going to let that lead me. I'm going to let God's word lead me. What is God telling me to do? Because your emotion will tell you, I'm so sad, I'm going to go get drunk and do that, right? I'm so angry, I'm going to take up this stone and, right? I'm so whatever. Man doesn't live by bread. My hunger is not going to dictate what I do. Only God dictates what I do. That was the lesson they're supposed to be learning in the wilderness. I'm going to rain down this bread to see if you're going to follow my word. So I'm going to give you the same quote every day, and I'm going to tell you, and he's going to give them the rules. Here are the rules, and every day I'm going to see, because I'm training you to follow my voice, because that's the only thing that's going to keep you alive. Like if you have a child, right? You have a child, and you say, don't play with that match. I know more than you. You just got to this world, 1-year-old baby, 2-year-old infant, toddler. So I've been in this world. I know the things that are dangerous, and you don't. So I must teach you to follow my voice. So when you don't do it, I've got to slap that hand. No, don't touch that fire. Right? There's a consequence for not listening to my voice. Because when we're about to cross the street, when you're 4 years old, and I say, stop, wait, don't run across. If you haven't learned to listen to me, your life's going to be in danger. A car's going to hit you. So God's saying the same thing to us. I've got to train you to follow my voice. I know all the dangers ahead. I know I've already been in tomorrow. I've been in 5 years from now. I know everything that's coming up. And so I'm training you to follow my voice. So I'm going to give you this quote every day to see if I can train you and you to listen to my voice. That's the lesson. In Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 2 through 3. This takes place, again, the book of Deuteronomy is after they've been there for 40 years. They're about to go into the wilderness, but God's got a new group of people because the old group was to Egypt. So they have died out. He's got a new group of people that he's been training. But in Deuteronomy, they review. Let's review the lesson. You know how a teacher has to review. Let's review. So in verse 2, he says, and you shall remember, because we're reviewing, that the Lord your God led you all the way these 40 years in the wilderness to humble you and test you. That was the two things. I had to break you because you think you know everything. Okay, you look like you know so much. So I have to humble you. And then I have to keep testing you. I have to put you through situations to see, did you learn it? Are you going to trust me this time? Are you going to do your own thing? To know what was in your heart so that God would know. No, so that we would know. Oh, look, that's why you get the results of the test. Teacher has to pass back the results. You go, oh man, I got a D. So that I would know. I really haven't learned this material. It's for me. The test is for me. So whether you would keep his commandments or not, have you learned to be those people who are going to, so if God says go, you go. God says stop, you stop. So he humbled you, allowed you to hunger. There were times that they walked for a day or two, there was no food. So that they would look up and go, okay, God, show us the food. Or they're going to complain and say, you're trying to kill us, God. Which one are you going to do? Because the fail is you're trying to kill us, God. And the pass is, I know you've got some provision somewhere. Even though I'm hungry, I'm going to wait till you show us. That's what Jesus, even though I'm hungry, I haven't eaten in 40 days, devil. I'm still not going to do any more than what God tells me to do. So he allowed you to hunger, and he fed you with manna, which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, which is what manna means. What is that? You weren't sure. It was like this miraculous thing he brought every day, that he might make you know that man shall not live by bread alone. This was the purpose of the manna for 40 years. I was breaking you of all the Egypt that's in you so that you can learn man doesn't live by bread alone. You got to listen to me. I gave you all these rules, but man lives by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. In John 6, therefore they said, because we got to learn the lesson of the manna. We have to teach it correctly. Jesus is being challenged by the Pharisees. It says, therefore they said to him, what sign will you perform that we may see it and believe you? What work will you do? Because our fathers ate manna in the desert, as it is written, and he gave them bread from heaven to eat. So Jesus has to correct a couple things. First of all, I don't need to do a sign. And they've been talking about Moses. And look, we know that Moses was from heaven because he brought down manna from heaven. So when they say he gave them bread to eat from heaven, they're actually referring to Moses. See, he gave them bread to eat from heaven. So what sign are you going to? The reason we followed Moses, they're saying, Jesus, is because he did all these signs and wonders. So what sign are you going to do? So Jesus in verse 32 says to them, most assuredly, I say to you, Moses did not give you the bread from heaven. So he's correcting them. That didn't come from Moses, so I don't need to do a sign. He says, but my Father gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world. I'm the bread. I'm here talking to you. The true bread is that you're listening and believing my word. The bread of heaven is he who comes down from heaven and gives life for the world. So two things. I'm here to give my life, and I'm trying to explain to you that's the true bread of heaven, is that you're listening to God's word. And so God doesn't want them to get confused. The manna is not to satisfy their need. The manna is there to teach them the lesson. And when God answers our prayer, it's so we can learn something. Not, you paid my rent. Okay, let me move on. No, we're supposed to go, wow, he paid my rent. So that means that I can trust God. That means, right, like, what's the lesson from it? Okay, Exodus chapter 16, verse 5. So here are the rules. I'm trying to see, God's saying, I'm trying to see if you're going to follow if you're going to listen to me or not. That's why I'm doing this manna thing. I'm going to attach rules to it. So it shall be on the 6th day that they shall prepare what they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. So I'm going to give you a certain quota to get every day. I'm going to tell you exactly how much you get every day. But on the 6th day, I'm going to give you twice as much. So Exodus chapter 16, verse 6. Then Moses and Aaron said to all the children of Israel, here's how you'll know that this is going to start happening. He says, at evening you shall know that the Lord has brought you out of the land of Egypt. So God's going to first answer the question of, did you bring us here to kill us? So at evening you shall know the Lord has brought you out of the land of Egypt. He's going to show you a sign that he brought you out, not to kill you. And in the morning you shall see the glory of the Lord. So there's going to be two different things happen. There's going to be a manifestation tonight, so you'll understand God is one that brought you out. God knew all. He didn't bring you here to kill you. He already had all your provisions taken care of. So the sign that they see first in the evening is so that they can know God brought you out and he has a plan for you. The sign is the morning, you're going to see something miraculous. You're going to see the glory of the Lord. Because Moses is going to say, he hears your complaints against the Lord. So what you're going to see in the morning is not because God is embarrassed, like, oh, I'm sorry, I better start feeding you every day. It's because you complained. Because he hears your complaints against the Lord. But what are we that you complain against us? Because you're really complaining against the Lord. So what you're going to see in the morning is an answer to the fact that you complain so much. But and it's okay, we make our complaints to this person or that, and their reaction can be, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize, or no, I did that on purpose, right? You don't know how they're going to react. When they're complaining against God, he's not fixing something that was broken. He's not saying, oh man, okay, you complained, so I'll do differently. This is actually, you complained? Okay. Now I'm going to give you consequences for that complaint because you were supposed to believe. So, because he hears your complaints. You're accusing God of wrong. If you're complaining, you're saying that you did something wrong, God. God is not like that. So what he's about to do is consequences. This is not, oh, yay, we complained. And because, you complain to the phone company and they go, oh, I'm sorry. And they apologize. And then they bless you with something. This is not what God's doing. You're accusing me of wrongdoing. So I'm giving you the consequences for it. But I'm also going to teach you a lesson through it. So verse 8, Moses said, this shall be seen when the Lord gives you meat to eat in the evening. So, and in the morning, bread. So I'm giving you the meat in the evening. And that's so you'll know that I brought you out, because that's what I was planning to do all along. But in the morning, the bread is an answer to your complaint. And in the morning, bread to the full. Because remember, that's what you wanted? We were full of bread in Egypt. Okay. For the Lord hears your complaints, he says again, which you make against him. And what are we? Your complaints are not against us, but against the Lord. So he's saying, again, God's not going, ooh, sorry. That's not what he's doing. He's, okay, I'm giving you consequences for this. I've got to correct you because you thought I was doing something wrong. Okay. Then Moses spoke to Aaron. Now, I'm just saying, I like this. Moses doesn't want to talk to people. He never had a good time talking to them. So he says, Aaron, say to all the congregation of the children of Israel, because if I talk to them, I'll have to kill them. Come near before the Lord, for he has heard your complaints. And he says complaints like 10 times in this chapter. So I just want to emphasize, this is not the answer to prayer. Yay! This is the consequences. Now it has come to pass, as Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness. So this is the first sign. Yes, I brought you out. So they're looking toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appears in a cloud. right? And so God is going to now confirm the message. And the Lord spoke to Moses saying, so he's talking to Moses, but the people, children of Israel, are hearing him. Okay. I have heard the complaints, this is time number 10, of the children of Israel. Speak to them saying at twilight. Now, of course, Moses is not going to speak. Aaron, you heard what he said. You do it. Speak to them saying at twilight you shall eat meat. And in the morning you shall be full of bread. And you shall know that I am the Lord your God. And I'm not making that up. That's what it says, right? So, because that was your complaint. So, okay. So it was in verse 13 that quail came at evening and covered the camp. Now, the quail flies over the Red Sea, and God had already worked it out that the quail is going to get tired and rest on the other shore because it has to travel across the sea, and it comes, and they were going to get quail. They were going to get quail. You tired of all the lamb and the beef? I'd already had it worked out, and so quail came a lot of times. He would lead them. That's why he took them out to Elim and then brought them back to the Red Sea. And they took them out and he brought them back because he was going to bring them back at a certain time and they were going to be able to collect all this quail. God already had it worked out. They thought he didn't. They thought that God would, oh man, I didn't realize you had to eat. But God knew they had to eat. So he says, in the evening, I'm showing you that I brought you out and that I had a plan, which was the quail. So the quail showing up was not a miracle. Quail flies from west to east over that wasn't like, oh my God, God's like, I'd already had this set in motion. Like the tree that turned the water bitter. The tree had already, God didn't make that tree suddenly appear. It had been growing there. God knew about the tree. I'm going to bring you to the bitter water, and then I'm going to tell you to take the tree. I've got things worked out. Don't panic. I've got this. I've thought this out.
I'm a thing.
Right. I'm working here. So it wasn't the quail came up at evening and covered the camp. So they go, oh, okay, he's got a plan. But in the morning, dew lay all around the camp. Now, this was the glory of God. This was the miracle. This was the new thing. And when the layer of dew lifted, there on the surface of the wilderness was a small round substance as fine as frost in the ground. Like, what is that? This is something they've never seen before. They didn't go, what's quail? But what is that on the ground? And so God's doing, this was not the plan. I was going to lead you each day and take you to a new experience, and which is what certainly happened once they crossed over into the promised land. But here in the wilderness, I'm going to just regiment you and do this new thing you've never seen before because I've got to teach you. So when the children of Israel, verse 15, of Israel saw it, they said to one another, what is it? Actually, they said the words manna, which means, what is it? For they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, this is the bread which the Lord has given you to eat, because that's what you asked for. We had so much bread, it was coming out our nostrils. Yes, it will. Thank you for that. And now you'll be sad you said that. This is the thing which the Lord has commanded. Let every man gather according to each one's needs, but 1 omer for each person. So here's specifically how much. According to the number of persons, let every man take for those who are in his tent. So if you got 8 people in your tent, take 8 omers. If you got 1 person in your tent, just take 1 omer. Right. Then the children of Israel did so and gathered some more because they had more, and some less because they had less people in the tent. So when they measured it by omers, he who gathered much had nothing left over. He took 8 omers for his family, and that wasn't too much. It was just perfectly. They were full. And he who gathered little had no lack. He just took this one little omer, but when he got and ate it, he was full. So I'm going to fill you in bread, and you'll eat nothing else. So every man had gathered according to each one's needs. And Moses said, let no one leave any of it till morning. And this is the thing. Trust, eat it all and get full. Don't think, I better put some to the side because, tomorrow God may be asleep, or he may wake up late, or he may forget, or he may go on vacation, or, trust that I'm going to do this every day. So don't leave any to the morning, because leaving some of it to morning in this situation, I'm not saying we should never save. I'm saying in this situation, it was proving a lack of faith to do it that way. In Matthew 6, verse 31, Jesus says, therefore do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For after all these things, the Gentiles seek. He says, don't get up every morning going and be worried. Oh no. The Gentiles are worried every day because they don't have a relationship with God. At that point, only the Jews had this relationship with God, right? The rest of the world didn't. So she says, that's what the Gentiles do every morning. They are panicked every morning. Don't you worry, because you know God and he's going to take care of you every morning. For your heavenly Father knows what you need, that you need all these things. He knows. God didn't go, you need what? But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. So just, okay, Lord, what do you want to do? What do you want me to do today? I'm going to be obedient to you today. And then when I look around, I'll see that you've provided everything that I need, as opposed to me thinking, oh, I better get up and start working because, God may be busy. Because then you're not listening to God, because your hunger is superseding the voice of God in your life. You need to first say, okay, Lord, what do you want from me today? And God will say, go to the store. And blah, blah, blah. This guy's not crazy, but the point is, understand that God knows your needs. So you don't have to spend all your time worrying and you're never listening. So seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about its own things. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. Just do what I told you to do today. Ooh, but tomorrow I got tomorrow. When you get to tomorrow, but please do what I asked you to do today. And so he's trying to train them. Take the Omer, fill yourself today. Don't think, ooh, tomorrow it may run out, so I better save some extra. Don't do that. I'm just trying to teach you about basic needs. God's trying to say that I've got you. So do everything I've told you to do today. Eat the whole thing, because I'm training you that I've already thought about tomorrow. You think that I brought you out of Egypt and went, uh-oh, I didn't know this was a desert. That's not, you thought I didn't have a plan. God has a plan. He's got a plan. It's okay. Exodus 16, verse 20. Notwithstanding, they did not heed Moses. What a shock. But some of them left part of it until morning, because they just said, God may forget. And it bred worms and it stank. So when they woke up, it was full of worms and it was stinky. Who did that, God? I told you not to leave it till morning. What's wrong with you? And Moses was angry with them. Of course he was, because Moses was always angry with them. He was angry with them 40 years ago when he killed that Egyptian and said, and you next, basically, So he's never liked them, because that's not his gift, right? So they gathered it every morning, and every man according to his need. So God was like training them. You can save it if you want, but it's going to be worms the next day. And every so often they would slip up and save some, and it'd be worms the next day. And God just, I'm going to train you. I'm going to train you. I'm going to force you to come to me every morning. So God puts us in situations, and it's God putting us in that situation so that we have to come to him. So we think, oh no, I'm abandoned. Or no, it's the opposite. God did some miracle, and now there's going to be a testing situation. That's good to see if you're going to go, wow, last year God gave me, so I'm not going to worry this year. But he puts us in a situation where we could have worried. He says, Moses said, he let you hunger. So there's a little space in time where things aren't quite working where you think they should. And God wants to see on purpose, are you going to go, oh no, God's forgotten? Or are you going to go, God's got this? And then he goes, pass the test. Because he's got that tree ready to turn that bitter water sweet. He's got those quails ready to fly over. He's got the manna. He's got all the stuff. God's got it all. The test is to see, are you going to panic? Are you just going to wait that one more day? Because right after the bitter water, they went to Elim, which was full of palm tree. So God's like, if you can just, tomorrow, I got this thing. But I'm teaching you today not to panic. It's going to look bad for a minute. Don't panic. God's got it. It's on purpose. Do not panic. So I'm teaching you just for today. So they gathered it every morning, and every man according to his needs. And when the sun became hot, it melted, because he's saying, eat it in the morning. If you leave it sitting around, but I'm doing this to see if you follow my instructions. It's not about the manna. It's about, I've told you to do it this way. Are you going to learn I'm training you to follow my voice. Because when you cross over and I say, march around Jericho 7 times, you're going to go, do what? And it's not going to make any sense. But I want people trained like, well, if God said it, let's do it. So I'm training because I'm gonna tell you to do all sorts of odd things that I'm gonna teach you just to blow a horn instead of fighting those people. Just brrr, and you're gonna think, they're gonna know where we are if we blow that horn. Like, no, that's not what's gonna happen. If you blow the horn, they're gonna run and scatter. But I'm not gonna tell you what's gonna happen. I'm just gonna tell you to blow the horn. And you have to trust me that it will work. So there's all these things that God was about to put them through. And the point is, are you going to trust me or not? So I'm trained. This is the training ground, right? So eat it in the morning just because I told you to. Gather an omer because I told you to. Don't leave anything until the next morning because I told you to, because I'm training you to. So it was on the sixth day that they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for each one. God provided twice as much. And so they took it, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And then he said to him, this is what the Lord has said. Tomorrow's a Sabbath rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. Bake what you will bake today, and boil what you will boil today of the quail and the bread, right? And lay up for yourselves all that remains to be kept until morning. On this day you can leave it. And God will provide. I want you to take a day off where you totally are not doing anything other than listening to me. Now, Jesus kept getting in trouble on the Sabbath because he kept doing stuff on the Sabbath. And they said, well, you're not supposed to do anything on the Sabbath. And God never said that. He said, it's my day. Jesus says, on the Sabbath, I'm obeying God's commands. So if God's saying to pray for that blind person or heal that woman, and on purpose, God kept doing stuff on the Sabbath. Like Jesus is like, couldn't you do this on a Wednesday? No, I'm doing it on the Sabbath just to piss them off because they've got this twisted. I want them to learn that it's not that you're supposed to do nothing on the Sabbath. I want you to do, for one day, just totally do what I'm telling you to do. And then we've entered into what the Bible calls a Sabbath rest. He wants to do that every day. But they're trying to say, at least one day, I don't want you to do any of your own work and think I've got to plan, I've got to cook. I'm going to give you enough on Saturday that you can just sit back, and on the Sabbath, you can just relax and listen to my voice. So, verse 24, they laid it up till morning as Moses commanded. It didn't stink. Wow. Who would have thought about that? And nor were there any worms in it. Because, yeah, on the sixth day, if you do what I say, there won't be any worms. Then Moses says, eat that today, for today is a Sabbath to the Lord. Today you do not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather, but on the seventh day, the Sabbath, there will be none. Now it happened that some of the people went out on the seventh day to gather, but they found none. Because something's wrong with them. Don't go out on the seventh. Well, we're going out because God's trying to say, no, I'm doing this. It's not an act. I'm not going to have anything on the seventh. This is actually me doing this. So just do the way I told you to do it, please. But something's wrong with us. And the Lord says to Moses, how long do you... Now, he's actually speaking to Moses, but letting the people hear. And Moses, God is like, I'm going to say this to Moses, because if I say this to them, I'm going to blow them up. So I'm saying to Moses so that they can hear me. How long do you refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? I don't get it. What else do I have to do? I parted an ocean, and you still don't believe me. Hello. See, for the Lord has given you the Sabbath. Therefore, he gives you on the sixth day bread for 2 days. Let every man remain in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the seventh day. Just stay in your tent. Just relax and listen to me. But this part you don't have to worry about. The part of you working for food, the part of you gathering, that you don't. I may have you play dominoes on the Sabbath day. I may have you go to the movies. Who knows what I'm going to have you to do. But you won't have to worry about working and going out and hunting for food. And just stay in your tent. It's cool. So the people rested finally on the seventh day. And the house of Israel called its name manna, which means, what is it? Because they never knew what it was. And it was like white coriander seed, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. And Moses said, this is the thing which the Lord has commanded. Fill an omer with it. So let me go over the instructions again. To be kept for your generations. No, I'm sorry. So now that they've learned the lessons, the Lord has now commanded, I want you to take some to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread which I fed you in the wilderness. So they're going to put this ultimately in the ark. They don't know the ark is coming. But they says, take some, fill a jar, do not touch it, because I want the generations to come in to see the bread with which I fed you in the wilderness when I brought you out of the land of Egypt. Now, again, they're going to be there for 40 years. God knows this already. They don't know they're going to be there for 40 years because they don't know that they're going to continue to be disobedient. But God, I see you. God says, I see you. You're going to be here for 40 years. So I want you to take it. So the generations to come will see the bread, not so they can glory and go, ooh, bread. So if you were kept in the 6th grade for 40 years, and God says, I want you to keep that report card where you failed everything so that people come in, so your children can see. It's not saying go, ooh, you were there for 40 years. So they can go, ooh, I want to avoid that. That's not good. Let me look at that report card. So the manna is not some wonderful thing. It's like, I want the generations after you to see this. I'll go in and show you. Okay, so Moses said to Aaron, take a pot, put an omer of manna in it, laid up before the Lord to keep it for your generations. And the Lord commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony to be kept. And the children of Israel ate manna 40 years until they came into an inhabited land. They ate manna until they came to the borderland of Canaan. So here's what happened when they came into Canaan. Joshua chapter 5, and then I'll be done. Verse 10, it says, now the children of Israel camped in Gilgal. So that whole generation is gone. They still got the manna with them in the Ark of the Covenant. And God has been feeding with manna every day for 40 years. And they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month. So the Passover is on the 14th, and they left Egypt on the 15th. On the 15th, a month later, God gives them this manna. And they've been keeping the Passover for 40 years, right? So they come out of the wilderness on the 14th day of the month at twilight on the plains of Jericho. So they haven't conquered Jericho yet. They've just come over. They can see Jericho in the distance. They don't even know what God's going to say about Jericho yet. They don't know. But they're keeping the Passover. It says, and they ate of the produce of the land on the day after Passover. Unleavened bread and parched grain on the very same day. Like for the first time, they're like not eating manna anymore. Then the manna ceased on the day after they had eaten the produce of the land. And the children of Israel no longer ate manna, but they ate food of the land of Canaan that year. So God was going to lead them to places, and they were going to eat of the land. But as soon as they got to the place and they didn't see God's provision, they started complaining. So God says, okay, I'm going to do this for you. And you're going to eat manna every day because you want to be full of bread. Okay. Even though I had all sorts of stuff for you, I'll make sure you're full of bread. But once they finally, God had a new generation, he didn't do the manna anymore. Because now he's going to, every day, they've trained to go to God and say, okay, what do we do today, Lord? What do we do today? And he'd finally train them. And then he takes them to different places, and they go find the grapes and the this and the that. And God has a new adventure every day. But they still, that manna is a reminder of, here's when you were messing up, and I had to feed you with manna every day, and that's all you got every single day, because you thought I didn't know how to provide your hunger needs. So, okay, you want bread? So, but it wasn't, ooh, the manna from heaven, yay. Manna means you're not listening. And I'm having to regiment you and train you to listen. So the good part of manna is that we learn. So God puts us on a manna diet sometimes so we can learn that lesson. Okay, I'm going to listen to God. So that's all that's happening in our lives sometimes is we're thinking, oh, this is so hard. No, God's teaching you. He's using everything. I'm going to teach you to call on my name every day. And when you get into the next situation that looks scary, looks like you're in the wilderness, you're going to go, whew, I'm not going to be scared of this. I'm not going to be scared of this. Because God is the same God who delivered me last month, last year, 10 years ago. He's the same God. He delivered the children of Israel. He delivered Daniel in the lion's den. We sing all these songs. So he's that same God. So I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to panic. I'm going to pass this test. I'm going to get an A on this one. I'm not going to get a fail and carry around a fail in a little pot for 40 years. I'm going to carry around my A. I passed, yay. And I realized that God's going to come through. And so that's what he wants from us. Okay, so thank you so much for tuning in. At 11 o'clock, well, it'll probably be 11:05, but I'll be preaching at my church. For the first 10 minutes, I won't be preaching. I won't be preaching until 11:15, 11:20, something like that. But for those of you like Dottie or Donna, one of you other you just like it, which is nice of you. So you can look at my channel, or you can go to Good Shepherd's MBCLA Facebook channel. I'm calling them channels, but Facebook page to see it. And I'm in the book of Samuel. Everyone else, I'll see you on Wednesday. We're in the book of John. I'm just gonna say hi to Lila and Jan and Roger because I see your names. But hi to everybody. I'm just saying hi to these people just because I just happen to see their names. But hello to all of you who listen, and I appreciate you. Okay. God bless you, and I will see you soon.